Your healthy community is underwritten by the Quantum Foundation. The Quantum Foundation works in Palm Beach County to increase healthcare access, improve science and health education, and enhance the healthcare workforce. Over the past 15 years, the foundation has invested nearly $100 million with community partners who are helping us meet our vision of creating a place where everyone has the opportunity to live healthy lives regardless of their income, education, or background.
Good evening, I'm Toni May. Thank you for joining us. Every week we talk about the health of your own community here on our show. And when we talk about health, we're not necessarily talking about how many doctor's offices there are nearby or the access to health care. We're talking about everything from the safety of your streets to the quality of the education in your schools. Tonight we talk about an acronym you may not have heard of before, STEM. It stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math courses. And when it comes to those courses, we aren't very healthy in Palm Beach County. In fact, we follow a national trend where our kids, especially K through 8th grade, are lagging behind in both science and math scores. So what's to be done? My guests tonight say, take science out of the classroom, make it fun, and take the fear away from learning it. Joining me now is Lou Crampton from the South Florida Science Museum. Welcome, Lou.
Thank you, Toni.
And Kate, you are the COO at the Science Museum. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Lou, obviously South Florida Science Museum, your interest is science, and you make it fun at the museum.
Right.
But what are you finding about when the science goes into the classroom, all of a sudden kids are kind of fearful they're not doing so well?
Well, that's formal science, and formal science education is important. But to really get science, you have to be hands-on, minds-on, and doing stuff, playing around with manipulables, learning as you go along. It's called formative education, and we do it very well at the Science Museum, both on the museum grounds and out in the classrooms throughout Palm Beach County.
And Kate, out in the classrooms, the program, now I know you do a lot, but we were lucky enough to see one of them called Science in Motion, I believe, Health and Science in Motion. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit of the background of that before we show the story.
Well, Health, Science, and Motion is something that was brought about several years ago. We realized that in the after-school setting, very little science was being taught. And there was various reasons. The after-school practitioners were a little bit nervous. They didn't have that good of a science background, so they didn't feel comfortable teaching it. So we thought, what can we do to bring science, particularly to these after-school sites, to these kids who, a lot of them, really need it. And we thought, let's develop this program. Let's get the practitioners involved. Let's have them teaching the science as well. And we'll see how that works. So that's exactly what we did. We have a program, and it's very comprehensive. It's 4 parts, and we involve the practitioners so that they get something as well as the students out of the program.
And I can attest that the students were definitely excited at the site we saw. So we're going to take you now to a Lake Worth Elementary School where the kids were definitely not looking too scary when it came to science. Every day after school at Highlands Elementary, educators are taking the mystery out of science for some very unlikely youngsters.
Science is the foundation of life. When you're talking about biology, you're talking about life. So it's important for people to understand these concepts, especially when you're talking about health science.
Circle the answer that's right.
Many of these children struggle with both math and science classes, and this program is designed to change that. It is a cooperative between the South Florida Science Museum and Primetime, and is funded through the Quantum Foundation.
A lot of times it's hard for programs to get their kids to the Science Museum. It costs money for transportation, and it takes time, and they have to sign, their parents have to sign something.
Studies prove the effectiveness of hands-on science in engaging students and teaching them concepts. This walking exercise shows the young kids how oxygen and blood work together in your lungs, and it looks like a lot of fun.
So I was exposed to a lot of science when I was younger. My family is really outdoorsy, and so we would go on hikes and they would, point out the different flora and the fauna, and just being exposed at a young age, I ended up doing it as an adult too. So I think it's really important.
At first, the after-school education focused on older kids, but now they even teach classes to kindergarten students. The theory, the earlier, the better.
The kids are always excited that just someone's there to do something.
So Kate, I know the program's been is it about a year into it?
We're actually into the second year now.
Second year.
Yes.
So is there some kind of tracking yet? Can you kind of give me
yeah.
an idea of what specifically the kids are saying, but maybe the teachers, where they're going back into their classroom and maybe doing a little bit better? At least they're not, as I said, so hesitant about science?
We have. With every site that we visit, we do pre-tests, we do post-tests, we do surveys, and almost across the board, we have found out that there's almost 80% knowledge gains. That's almost
Wow.
80% of the students have gained knowledge from pre to post-test on the topic, whether it be the heart, whether it be DNA. So we're very happy with those results. Some of the results from the practitioners, they're much more interested in the sciences now. They're more likely to go out in the community and advocate for the sciences, to teach it, at home, to use it now more than they were before this program, before they went through the program.
Lou, we think, at least I, as being in this community for decades, think of the South Florida Science Museum as a place to go, a place to visit with your kids, maybe have a birthday party. Why is something like this integral to your success and your, place in this community?
Well, we're all about education. And education is the basis of everything we do. Even the birthday parties have an education component to it. Right now, it's all dinosaurs all the time.
Yeah, ask Lou. He likes the
I love
dinosaurs.
But so we're always trying to figure out ways to slip in a little bit of learning. Our science summer camps, hugely popular, Toni. And it's not just because kids get to play and have fun. It's because they get to do science. And the other thing is that we set up our exhibits so that the parents can be involved too. They can teach the kids in the context of the exhibit a scientific principle or something of that sort. So there's a little bit of bonding going on there too.
One of the things, I'm glad you brought up the parents, because I did a lot of reading before the interview, and it kept going back to two things, not just the kids who kind of get held up as you're not doing well on this test, but it was the teachers and their really comfortableness with this subject, but also parents who, in my opinion, I could tell you right now, my child is way beyond my comprehension in science, technology, and I'm kind of embarrassed when they come home and I can't do the homework. So talk about how that is really an integral part of what you all are doing.
Well, it's
too.
an entire context, really. It is the environment the child is in and what kind of stimuli he or she are getting and all the rest of it. And the parents have a role to play. And if they don't know anything, then the kids aren't getting much from the parents. Similarly with teachers. There are a lot of teachers that lack confidence when it comes to teaching science. There are a lot of things to remember, a lot of things to do to get it across. So we're there to help, to provide that informal context, that backstop, if you will, to give teachers and parents the opportunity to shine and be stars in teaching the children about science.
And Kate, you actually do some teacher training we were talking about that, again, demystifies the subject. I think that's so crucial.
It is. We hold it on the weekends. So a group of teachers, we've had 10, 15, 20 teachers come in. We do things from teaching them about the stars, from doing dissections, things so that we make an environment comfortable, so if they won't be embarrassed to ask any questions or anything like that. And we found it to be very successful.
So in your opinion, as people who are immersed in this every day, what is it going to take? Nationally we see the scores. We're behind Finland, and all the jobs, quite honestly, have to be in the science, technology, engineering fields. That's the way our world is going. The global economy is that way. You all are involved in curriculum talks. You work with the school district every day. What is it going to take to help these kids really compete at that level?
I think it's going to take cooperation among all of us. I mean, one body can't do it alone. It's a complex subject. So the school district, the museums, the funding community, all of these people have to be working together to see better science learning as a goal. Right now, I don't think it's, I mean, it's valued mentally, but I don't think people are committed yet.
Like
to
execution.
Yeah, but we need to work together to make this thing come across because, as you said, an increasingly globally competitive environment with China and other countries spending a lot of money and devoting a lot of resources to educating their children in science, we are being left behind, and that is not a good thing. So we have to pull up our bootstraps, get going, do what we do well, and get people excited about science and to provide the training that our teachers need in order to communicate it effectively.
And Kate, you're hands-on. Tell me about a child that maybe you've seen go from not that into it to actually excited.
Oh my gosh, it happens a lot. It happens a lot, especially in the after-school time. You know, they've just went through the school day. They've been, you know, force-fed these subjects, read these books, do these things, and then they come to the after-school, and then they have to learn science. So I have seen children, you know, that we walk in there and, you know, arms crossed, little standoffish.
That would be me.
But then let me tell you, we bring out our EKG machines. We bring out our heart models. They get to take apart a heart. We bring out our exact replicas of torsos. They get to actually feel the heart pump. They get to see the water flowing through the veins. And I have seen that light bulb go off in that child. And by the end of the hour and a half, they are excited. They're talking about it nonstop. So it really does. It really makes a difference. And you know, that could be that one little incident that now causes the child's whole world to change. They might have been on one path before they walked into that classroom, and they leave the classroom on another path.
And I think that's the real point, because I've heard older kids in my son's college that's, you know, geared towards engineering talk about it was a teacher and it was a moment that got them to the path they're on. Let's talk about, speaking of paths, the new path for the South Florida Science Museum. It is going to be a little bit different in the next year or two than we're used to seeing. So talk to us, and I think, you know, we'll put up an image while you're talking.
Well, think about those aha moments that Kate just talked about. And right now they're happening in a fairly shop-worn facility with not a lot of curb appeal. Now think about a $3 million project where we double the size of our aquarium, put this fantastic science on a sphere in the middle of the room. We dress up our mastodon and stick her off in a corner, Susie. We develop a hurricane chamber where you can walk in, dial it up to a force 5 and see the skin move on your wrist.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we're going to be providing all kinds of experiences all the time in this museum that'll give us the opportunity to more than double our exhibit space. Right now, South Florida Science Museum is the second busiest medium-sized science center in the whole country.
Wow,
That
really?
is when you divide the number of guests that we have, 125,000 a year, into 9,500 square feet of exhibit space. We are crowded, but we'll more than double our exhibit space with the new development. So this gives us an opportunity to multiply what we do, enhance the relationships that we're building, and really do a lot more for this community.
And it's interesting because I know for a long time we've been really trying to coddle and build up the museum, but it comes at a time, as we've just talked about, that it is crucial that this be a beacon of not just entertainment or a visitor site, but of learning, like you're talking about.
Well, South Palm Beach County deserves a great science museum, in
I
my
agree.
opinion.
I agree.
We have a good one. But we want to be a great one, and that's what our efforts are all about, to try to turn this place into a great science museum and to provide all the help that the teachers, that corporations need, because they're looking to recruit folks into these jobs. Scripps, Max Planck, and the others are looking to recruit folks. We're the ones who help prepare them for good jobs and great careers.
Well, in the last minute or two, just quickly, Kate, do you think that this kind of after-school curriculum and in-school, I know you do a lot of in-school, will expand? Do you think that community funders and the district will kind of embrace this once they see the success?
I do, and I certainly hope so. I mean, we have results. We have tangible results. You know, we have an evaluator that works on this project, and you know, I'm not making this stuff up. It's working, and I think that we will be able to take those results out to different funders, to the school district, and say, this is what we did. It's working. Now let's make it bigger.
Great. Well, congratulations. I love that you're expanding because it is a great site. My kids have loved it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Toni.
Thanks, Toni.
Now we've gotten you excited, right? And you want to know where it is, when it's open? Here are the hours and the location and the website for all the information you need, and we'll be right back. Well, we've gotten the science scoop on how to help our kids, but back at home, are your kids eating healthy? Are they making good choices? Do they have fresh vegetables and produce to eat? Well, many of our kids in Palm Beach County don't, and my guests tonight are helping change that and the way they and their family exercise. Welcome, Erica Whitfield.
Hi.
You are the project coordinator for Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities. Blair LittleJohn, senior counsel with the Palm Beach County School District. Welcome, Blair.
Thank you.
And Sarah Marshall's a second grade teacher at Berkshire. Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
First, it's called Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities, which really does describe what you're doing, but give a few details about this project.
This was a grant that the school district received. We received it back in January of 2010, and the overall goal is to reduce obesity in the areas of Lake Worth, Palm Springs, and Green Acres. And we're doing that in a couple of different ways. The first one is creating community and school gardens, which is where Sarah comes in. And the second way is to try to take those open spaces on school district campuses that are not used when children aren't in session, and open those up to the public for weekends and holidays. And those are something we call joint use agreements.
So the joint use agreements, let's start there because that involves our council, Blair. Is this something that's done outside of the boundaries of Palm Beach County and other places and we're trying to replicate, or is this a whole new phenomena?
This is something that's actually been going on throughout the country. The reason we do it is because we don't necessarily have enough funding to be able to put in new parks everywhere. So we really try to focus on areas that don't have an easily walkable or accessible park, and make it so that we make the best use of our facilities that we currently have. And opening them back up, if you remember when you were a kid, I'm sure you actually got a chance to go to the local school and get onto the campus and use those facilities. Through this project, we're trying to find the best and safest way to open up those campuses again, not letting access into where the school is, but
Right.
just into the fields and open spaces like that.
So Blair, what will it take for this to work? I mean, it definitely will take joint agreement on a lot of things.
Yes, and it takes some cooperation from the local municipalities or the other local governments. Palm Beach County, we do a lot of this with Palm Beach County. And the big issue is supervision of people when they're out there.
So to just pick a school, I live next to it, has a huge field, but it's fenced off, okay? But not a playground, but just an open field for soccer, softball, whatever. So this would mean that field would be to the neighborhood kids' use from the weekends and the nights, or how does that work?
In the afternoons after school or in the evenings or weekends, it could be used by neighborhood children or adults for physical activities.
And with that, that's part of the grant because RWJ, Robert Wood Johnson, really found that that's part of the problem is there is nowhere to go and take a walk or play frisbee or whatever it may be.
Exactly. One of the things that we're doing with obesity prevention is not really trying to tackle obesity, but try to tackle nutrition and physical activity. So we look for ways that we can actually incorporate physical activity into everyone's everyday life. And then as far as nutrition, we want to have extra access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So whenever we create an open space, we try to add in fruit trees or vegetable plots so that we're really making that whole holistic approach to obesity prevention.
And Sarah, that's great entry to you. The plots, the gardens are actually on school campuses like at Berkshire, right?
Yes.
Talk about that. I mean, did you have the land? Did the kids plow it? Did they pick what they plant?
Mm-hmm. The kids have been involved in every aspect of it. They knew about the project before we even started. It was just a central courtyard that was all grass before, and it's about a ½ acre.
Wow.
And it's divided into different plots that are kind of like pie shapes. And the kids, we used it in the classroom to do math purposes of figuring out the plots, dimensions, and all that. And from there, they saw the grass being ripped up and the ground being tilled, and they planted the seeds with their families. The families came and helped plant plants and seeds, and they've harvested and they've cooked with it and they've taken it home. So they've been involved from the beginning to the end.
So when you first came up with the idea, I think we were showing some pictures there. Had the kids put their hands in ground? Had they planted things? Was this even a familiar activity to them?
I would say a majority of kids know. There's going to be a few here or there that have dabbled in it, but a majority of kids have not been involved in gardening, or they know you can grow a flower, but the food you eat, not so much.
So how does that, planting a garden at school, translate into, okay, I'm going to get home and kind of talk to my family about when I'm at the grocery store making a better choice in the aisle rather than going down the candy aisle or the sugary cereal aisle, why don't you swing over here to the whatever I grow aisle. I mean, does it really translate that way?
Yeah, more than you would think. I think that for the most part, it takes the preaching aspect of it out. We don't have to tell our kids about making healthy choices. It's almost like a magical element. They take the seed, they plant it in the ground, all of a sudden it's sprouted and it looks familiar. It's something they've seen at Publix and they're like, okay, that's safe to eat. I've seen that before. But they actually did it themselves. So they're very excited to eat it at that point. And they're even more open to trying something they may have never had, like an eggplant. It's not that they've never seen these things, it's a vegetable, they're a kid, they're not that excited about it. But when they see the whole process, you've taken that preaching aspect out, they're excited now, they want to do this.
And Erica, obviously the Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities is all over the country, 50 different sites. What is special about these communities? I mean, I know they're very culturally mixed, and I know some of the gardens, they have food in there. When I visited, I hadn't even heard of some of it. Is it also kind of helping that cross-cultural lessons through the classroom and the different kids?
Absolutely. Every garden that we do, we really try to be sensitive to the culture and what the students that are in that school or in that garden really want to grow and would be interested in eating, something that they could take home to their families and their families would enjoy cooking. One of the things when we met with Mrs. Bishop, who's the principal at Berkshire, she mentioned that she was really interested in having that community connection again, bringing in all of the families. And we've had 2 different planting days at Berkshire where we've had, I believe, between 100 and 200 parents and children and community members come and help to plant. And it's something that really makes sense to people. Putting food in the ground and growing it is something that's getting us all back to our roots, especially for the families. It's a very high Hispanic population there, and this is something that they may have done in their home countries, and they're very comfortable with it, and growing food just makes a lot of sense, and it's making it so that this food is accessible to them again.
And Blair, I know you're a lawyer, so the whole land use, it's hard for me to conceptualize how joint use may lead to skinnier, more fit kids. It really is. But when I look at the statistics that in 2020, 75% of Americans will be considered obese, it makes me think, well, whatever it takes, get the people to the table and open up a park. I mean, where do we stand on something like that actually being a regular occurrence in Palm Beach County?
Well, the school board is very committed towards trying to open up the school campuses and make them available for the neighborhood use after school hours. The big issue for us, of course, is overuse and then potential for vandalism and people just doing things that they shouldn't be doing out there. And so again, the supervision issue is what comes to mind, but we have had very successful programs with the county and with a number of municipalities for their recreational sports groups that are organized using our facilities for a number of years. And that's worked well, and if we can figure out a way to supervise the community when it's out there, I think this program will grow even bigger.
And I know I was looking at my my trusty iPad for some of the RWJ statistics and some of the goals for Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities. Are we there? Because this is a couple years in now. Mm-hmm. So are we kind of meeting some of the expectations that the grant came in with?
Absolutely. This grant has been phenomenally successful. I think a lot of it comes from this is the perfect time for this community. Mm-hmm. Everyone is really jumping on something that feels right, and it's something that people were thinking anyway. As far as the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, they're very happy with us. The goal of this grant is not to test kids' weight or height or their BMIs, but really to to make people healthier overall and make opportunities available and change that policy surrounding gardens and the joint use and a couple of other areas that we're working on. And those policy changes, they believe and we believe, will actually go ahead and move that bar a little bit farther to make our families healthier.
Well, I think that the little bit I've known through the quantum funding of it is that it's a big issue, and sometimes you get overwhelmed when you hear numbers in kids with diabetes as young as 5 and 6 years old, and it's almost overwhelming to the point of you can't solve it. But then you break it down to the kids are building a garden. I mean, does it kind of give you hope that this is a solvable issue when you see the kids and you talk to them?
The kids are amazing. I absolutely love it, specifically at the schools that I've had an opportunity to go to with this grant. They love being outside. They're kids. They want to be outside. They love growing things. Like Sarah mentioned, there's a magic to making food appear out of the ground, and they will try anything that they grow. And it's an amazing feeling to know that you're really making this kind of a difference. And I think once we're taking the blame out of being overweight and we're just giving them options on how to be healthier, the whole perspective changes. And I think we are really moving in the direction that we should be.
And Sarah, as a teacher, you see it every day, so you're more of the expert in the field. How is it watching kids do something that at least in my experience with the Palm Beach County school system, is not the norm? It's not book, it's not testing, it's not FCAT. It is out there, it is hands-on, it is getting dirty. What is the difference when they come back in the classroom after a day like that?
Well, from a teacher's perspective, they're inspired, they're excited, and so it takes half the job out of it for me because they're ready to go and run with it. So not only is it on the health aspect of it, educationally, they're ready to go out and get a book about gardening or a book about earthworms, and that leads into my next reading lesson, or it can lead me to a math or science lesson. So their excitement helps me out in my job. They're also taking it home to their families, and they're trying things they might have never had before at home.
And that's the key right there I love about the program is from the legal department to the municipalities to the playgrounds, it really, at the end of the day, goes home. And even if you teach them one good eating lesson, that's more than they knew. Thank you all for joining us. Definitely a great program, so excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all three.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for joining us as always here in your healthy community. Until next time, we hope you have a safe and healthy week. Good night.
Your Healthy Community is underwritten by the Quantum Foundation. The Quantum Foundation works in Palm Beach County to increase healthcare access, improve science and health education, and enhance the healthcare workforce. Over the past 15 years, the foundation has invested nearly $100 million with community partners who are helping us meet our vision of creating a place where everyone has the opportunity to live healthy lives regardless of their income, education, or background.